It's winter, and you can now get almost anything you need for the coldest months of the year delivered with Uber Eats. What do we mean by almost? Well, you can't get a ski slope delivered, but you can get dish soap delivered. Sunshine, that's a no. But a bottle of wine, that's a yes. A snow angel, sorry, no. But angel hair pasta, Uber Eats can definitely get you that. Get almost anything delivered with Uber Eats. Order now. Alcohol in select markets. Product availability may vary by region. See app for details.
This episode is brought to you by Nerds Gummy Clusters, the sweet treat that always elevates the vibe. With a sweet gummy surrounded with tangy, crunchy nerds, every bite of Nerds Gummy Clusters brings you a whole new world of flavor. Whether it's game night, on the way to a concert, or kicking back with your crew, unleash your senses with Nerds Gummy Clusters.
This episode is brought to you by Allstate. Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Like you know to check the date of the big game first before you accidentally buy tickets on your 20th wedding anniversary and have to spend the next 20 years of your marriage making up for it. Yeah, checking first is smart. So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds. You're in good hands with Allstate. Savings vary. Terms apply. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Northbrook, Illinois.
It's January 2025. Niftski's fingers fly across the keyboard. It's down to the wire. Mario leaps across the screen. His small, pixelated figure soars through the air in his signature red overalls and matching hat. He pumps his arms vigorously, bouncing upward to collect a gold coin. Mario may be small, but he sure can jump. He dodges obstacles left and right, squashing green turtles, leaping over dangerous chasms, crushing brown mushroom men, and narrowly avoiding a series of Venus flytraps chomping upward toward him. Niftski's heart rate begins to rise as the adrenaline courses through his veins. At 188 beats per minute, he's far above a normal resting heart rate of 60 to 100 BPM. 4.5 minutes into the game now, the next 25 seconds will determine his fate. His narration to viewers becomes increasingly frantic.
I don't care. This is it.
4 minutes and 47 seconds. Niftski has reached the final stage of the game. Mario races across a dark screen, his small pixelated legs carrying him across the silver stone pathway as fast as possible. He leaps across a lava pit, jumps over a fireball, and quickly slides under a massive armored turtle. You may know him as Bowser, before racing across the finish line.
8H. Oh my god! Yes!
And just like that, Niftski's done it.
It's over! It's finally over! Oh my god!
On screen, Niftski runs across the room, unable to contain his excitement as several hundred viewers look on. Returning to his desk, he grasps his head in his hands in disbelief before quickly shooting up from his chair once more in a Mario-like fashion to jump across the room.
Come on, dude! Oh my god!
In just 4 minutes, 54 seconds, and 565 milliseconds, Niftski has just beaten the Super Mario Bros. Speedrunning world record.
Mario.
Hey everyone, it's Kavitha Davidson, and welcome back to another episode of Sportly. Each week we discuss moments in sports history, iconic events, notable athletes, and some of the lesser known, but still impactful, moments on and off the field. Moments that, all too often, tend to get sidelined. Today, we'll be exploring a somewhat different area of sports. Many of these players often compete from the comfort of their very own homes, and their skills aren't in traditional athletics, they're in gaming. Now, for many, competitive gaming may not initially come to mind when thinking about sports, and some don't think of it as a sport at all. While the physicality of gaming may take a rather different form from traditional sports, competitive gaming contains clear elements of rules, skill, strategy, endurance, and obviously, competition. So enter competitive speedrunning, a style of video gaming centered around pushing one's skills to the limit Speedrunning is a competitive activity where players attempt to beat a game or part of a game in the shortest amount of time possible. The ultimate goal is to set records. Many of these games are relatively short, not too luck-based, and have a very high skill ceiling, making these records particularly impressive. So, how did this sport begin? Why are so many people drawn to it? And what does being a top speedrunner look like? Let's find out. It's December 1980. You've just gotten out of school for the day. You and your friends immediately rush over to the local arcade, where you'll spend the next several hours huddled around a console. As you push through the doors, you're met with a sensory overload of bright, flashing lights. A symphony of beeps floats through the air, accompanied by the faint smell of buttered popcorn and spilled soda. Wall-to-wall carpet lines the floor, adorned with a galaxy of neon planets and stars. It's almost as if you've entered a whole other world. An endless stack of arcade cabinets line the walls of the room. Groups of children, teenagers, and adults alike stand huddled around the machines, their eyes glued to the screen as the player at the center of the pack carefully maneuvers a figure across the monitor. Some launch missiles, some dodge falling barrels, some take on rows of alien invaders from within a spaceship. You and your friends make your way to your favorite game. It's new, just released in the US this past fall. The game cabinet is bright yellow, and across the top, in big block letters, reads, Pac-Man. You've been selected to go first. Your hands grip the red joystick in anticipation as your friend drops a quarter into the machine and a maze appears on the screen. You immediately jump into action, pulling the joystick to the right as your circular yellow Pac-Man figurine begins to chomp at a line of dots. You feel the world around you begin to fade away as you quickly maneuver Pac-Man across the screen, dodging colorful ghosts left and right. You slam the joystick forward, propelling Pac-Man toward the final dot, the final point you need to win the round. The air is tense, and your friends lean in. Someone lets out a small gasp. And then suddenly, it's over. You let out a sigh of relief as Pac-Man chomps down on the final dot. You've done it. On to round 2. Welcome to the early days of gaming.
Well, they come as if from outer space in a variety of weird guises. Defender, Pac-Man, asteroid.
You can't get hooked on it.
Any normal person would want to beat the machine.
It keeps on making you play.
Indeed, and play it on the jukebox at full volume.
Video games first began to flourish in the early 1970s in arcade cabinets, lining the walls of various establishments, from bars to laundromats to, well, arcades. The very first arcade game, a space-themed shooting game called Computer Space, was released in 1971, created by Nolan Bushnell and Ted Dabney. The game was largely a derivative of the 1962 space combat video game Space War. While technically this was the first official video game ever created, the Space War software was built into an expensive computer system that made it mostly inaccessible to the average person. Built upon a similar game concept, the 1971 Computer Space arcade game brought gaming to the masses. This was soon followed by a series of other games, including Pong in 1972, Space Invaders in 1978, Asteroids in 1979, Pac-Man, Missile Command, and Centipede in 1980, Donkey Kong and Galaga in 1981. The list goes on. Cabinet owners often had a mutual relationship with the establishments holding their games. In fact, many bars would have encouraged patrons to attempt to beat high scores. The longer they stayed, the more food and drink they consumed. By the late 1970s and early 80s, the arcade gaming industry had exploded, ushering in the arcade golden age. As more and more games made their way into arcades, the first glimpses of speedrunning began to appear. Players desired speed, efficiency, and optimized gameplay, but most of all, they wanted to set records. As technology improved and games began to proliferate online with a greater ability to rule out cheating, players made their way out of arcades and onto computers. All the while, the fixation on timed records only continued to grow, and so-called speedrunners began to flock to various online games. Little did they know, this was just the beginning. It's December 1993. The classic first-person shooter game Doom has just been released. The game becomes an instant, overnight phenomenon. All across the country, gamers rush to their computers to take part in this new video game. The game is played from the perspective of a space marine fighting off a series of demons on Mars. The player must navigate through various levels, taking these creatures out in an effort to save Earth from an apocalyptic invasion. In more ways than one, Doom changed the world of personal computer games. From a superior graphics engine to fast peer-to-peer networking for multiplayer gaming to a new mode of competitive play. Most importantly, Doom is known for its breakneck speed. The action is fast and intense, a constant cycle of gameplay. This is where speedrunning really finds its legs. The standard maps present in many of the early editions of Doom are designed primarily for solo play. Early Doom players therefore look for a way in which to quantitatively compare their skills in an effort to compete with one another. Players compete for the fastest times in a number of different categories. This includes completing the game as fast as possible using any means necessary, including glitches and skips, a type of speedrunning known as any %. Conversely, some players set out to finish the game as fast as possible while completing every single objective, known as 100%. From beating individual levels to beating the entire game, various additional types of gameplay exist, each with their own specific set of criteria. The speed is thrilling.
Oh, that's a good run. That's a really good finisher on the run too.
Left and right, players challenge themselves and each other to play faster than they ever had before. New records are set and soon broken once more. But how could one prove that such records are legitimate? After all, you can't expect other players to merely take you at your word. You need proof. In the late 1990s and early 2000s, websites such as the Competition Network began appearing online. Founded by British Doom player Simon Woodlake in November of '94, it provides users with a place to upload tangible videos of themselves beating either levels or the entire game as fast as possible. These were known as speed demos. And so, players begin to document their gameplay, creating a robust online network of competitive gamers. The speedrunning community soon begins to take hold within a number of other games. First released in June of 1996, Super Mario 64 speedruns really take off around 2003. And since then, it's been one of the most enduring titles that people speedrun. In the game, players maneuver Mario through various levels, each set in a different 3D world, in an effort to ultimately rescue Princess Peach from the evil character Bowser. Early runs focused on 100% completion of the game, with players attempting to obtain all 120 stars as quickly as possible. As streaming platforms like YouTube and Twitch become more popular, however, additional styles of gameplay rise to prominence. Finishing quickly becomes the primary goal, with players seeking to complete the game as fast as possible with any amount of stars.
It's fine. It's fine.
They exploit glitches, discover workarounds. In short, they put their problem-solving skills to the test. The sport of speedrunning continues to evolve to this day. Speedrunning can be seen in a multitude of additional games, including those of Minecraft, Super Mario Bros., Subway Surfers, Cuphead, Super Mario Odyssey, Mike Tyson's Punch-Out!, and many more. So, who are these speedrunners that we keep referring to? Let's take it back to the beginning of this episode, January 2025. The young up-and-coming speedrunner Niftski has just set the new world record for Super Mario Bros. Any percent speedruns.
It's over! It's finally over!
At 4 minutes, 54 seconds, and 565 milliseconds, the young gamer has just beaten the previous world record, which he set himself in October of 2023.
Yes!
Needless to say, Niftski was excited. The young American speedrunner first started gaming at the age of 3, partaking in a wide variety of games. By age 6, he had been introduced to Super Mario Bros. However, it wasn't until years later, in 2019, that he truly began to play competitively after getting into Super Mario Bros. Speedrunning. Created in 1985, Super Mario Bros. Is one of the most popular games to speedrun, with a flourishing online community of gamers sharing their runs, publishing their scores, and constantly seeking to set new records. The young gamer soon joined this community, live streaming his runs on Twitch before publishing them on YouTube under the screen name Niftski. He first made his way into the spotlight in 2020, setting his first world record in the any percent category of Super Mario Bros. With a time of 4 minutes, 55 seconds, and 430 milliseconds. Over the next couple of years, the gamer gradually began to shave milliseconds off his time, as the world record passed back and forth between himself and fellow speedrunner Miniland.
455.313. I did it!
And yet, across the gaming community, it seemed that no one could beat the 55-second barrier. To many gamers, this felt insurmountable. In 2021, Niftski brought that barrier crumbling to the ground. Clocking in at 4 minutes, 54 seconds, and 948 milliseconds, Niftski was the first speedrunner to beat the 4-minute, 55-second mark. And after breaking his own record this past January, he shows no signs of stopping. Now, to a non-gamer, these numbers probably seem arbitrary. I mean, what really is the difference between 55 and 54 seconds?
Dude, it jumped for 1 frame!
Imagine a computer itself has been programmed to speedrun Super Mario Bros. This has, in fact, been done by several gamers. Simply put, we're talking maximum efficiency, a computer-generated player that's designed to be essentially flawless, with each and every move calculated and subsequently executed to total perfection. In this scenario, the absolute fastest time the computer can get is 4 minutes, 54 seconds, and 260 milliseconds, just 305 milliseconds faster than Niftski. So just let that sink in. Just 305 milliseconds difference. How does he do it? Niftski has developed a series of strategies to optimize gameplay. This includes taking advantage of a number of glitches. For example, the young gamer has figured out a way to clip the blocks, so to speak, which means run through walls. The game's software is designed to regularly check whether or not players are inside of solid objects, like walls, pushing Mario out of the object to ensure that he doesn't get stuck. Many players take advantage of this fact, finding ways of partially going into the wall or tricking the game into thinking that they are, so that it pushes them through the object. In Niftski's case, he often accomplishes this by pushing Mario far to the right, ahead of where the camera scroll is. Believing him to be inside of a wall, the game quickly ejects Mario through the barrier. In effect, Niftski is essentially manipulating the game to glitch to his advantage. This has the potential to save him an immense amount of time. As he edges closer and closer toward a flawless score, we may begin to wonder, is a perfect run actually humanly possible?
I can say to my new Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra, hey, find a keto-friendly restaurant nearby and text it to Beth and Steve. And it does, without me lifting a finger. So I can get in more squats anywhere I can. 1, 2, 3.
Will that be cash or credit?
Credit. 4.
Galaxy S25 Ultra, the AI companion that does the heavy lifting so you can do you. Get yours at Samsung.com. Compatible with select apps. Requires Google Gemini account. Results may vary based on input. Check responses for accuracy.
Imagine what's possible when learning doesn't get in the way of life. At Capella University, our game-changing FlexPath learning format lets you set your own deadlines so you can learn at a time and pace that works for you. It's an education you can tailor to your schedule. That means you don't have to put your life on hold to pursue your professional goals. Instead, enjoy learning your way and earn your degree without missing a beat. A different future is closer than you think with Capella University. Learn more at capella.edu.
We've now been introduced to a Super Mario Bros. Speedrunner. But what about some of the other speedrunning games? It's hard to talk about speedrunning without talking about the game that truly started it all, Doom. As you may remember, Doom is a first-person shooter game in which players fight off a series of monsters as they navigate through various levels. An Australian YouTuber and speedrunner himself, Carl Jobst, explains in his YouTube video, the greatest Doom player of all time.
You would be hard-pressed to find a gamer today that hasn't played Doom in one form or another. It is one of the most prolific games ever made, and while the official sales numbers for the franchise sit at around 10 million copies, we all know that the amount of people that have played at least one of the games is much, much higher. It has been estimated that the shareware version of the original Doom has been installed at least 10 million times alone.
According to Jobst, when it comes to overall accomplishments in the Doom series, one particular speedrunner is above all the rest.
About
Zero Master. Zero Master is known for being the first speedrunner to have accomplished a number of extreme feats for the very first time. His expertise extends beyond a single game to essentially the entire Doom series, including Ultimate Doom, Doom 2, both episodes of Final Doom, Doom 2016, and Doom Eternal. So who is this Norwegian speedrunner, and how did he get his start? Perhaps surprisingly, Zero Master actually entered the Doom speedrunning community relatively late. While he had played Doom 1 and 2 somewhat casually in his younger years, it wasn't until 2011 that Zero Master discovered his passion for speedrunning, 18 years after the game's initial release. He found himself unsatisfied with other first-person shooter games, feeling that they didn't challenge him enough. He ultimately found what he was looking for, however, in Doom 2, Nightmare difficulty, the highest level of difficulty. In this level, monsters move much faster and attack far more rapidly. Enemies respawn, projectiles zoom through the air at an accelerated rate. And worst of all, in order for a Nightmare speedrun to count, you can't die a single time. In short, you have to beat every single level in a single sitting without a single death. Funnily enough, many gamers believe that the Nightmare software was never really intended to be beaten, rumored to have been put in by the creator as a kind of joke to frustrate players. And yet, many have tried to beat it anyway. In his search for higher difficulty, Zero Master ultimately stumbled upon a speedrun of Doom 2 Nightmare completed by another Norwegian speedrunner back in 2009 in just 29 minutes and 39 seconds. Zero Master was hooked. He began watching Doom marathons, and by June of 2014, he officially began speedrunning the game himself. Just 2 months later, in August, he had already attained his first world record, beating the entire final Doom episode of the Plutonia experiment on ultraviolence, the second highest difficulty, in just 25 minutes and 23 seconds. This was just the beginning for Zero Master. He soon found that Nightmare difficulty is where he truly excels. By 2014, both Doom 1 and Doom 2 had already been beaten on Nightmare difficulty by other gamers. In 2015, Zero Master became the first gamer to complete Final Doom on Nightmare, and he continued to set records. At one point, Zero Master held every single full-game Nightmare record in the original trilogy. He was in his speedrunning prime, and he was far from done. In 2016, Zero Master made news for being the first person ever to beat the entirety of Doom 2016 on Ultra Nightmare difficulty without dying once. The next year, he ventured into the world of Pacifist Doom, in which you beat levels without firing your weapon. Obviously, beating a first-person shooter game without firing a single shot adds a whole new level of challenge. Essentially, players use the surrounding environment to take down their enemies, luring them into hazards, exploiting enemy infighting, and carefully navigating levels to avoid direct combat. Zero Master quickly established himself in the pacifist space, and he uses tool-assisted techniques in which players themselves program playthroughs manually, enabling perfect movement. Needless to say, Zero Master is quite impressive, and we certainly didn't even get to all of his accomplishments. He submitted more than 250 demos to the Doom Speed Demo Archive and has held full game world records in numerous Doom titles. So you can see why other gamers call him the greatest Doom player of all time.
So that, my friends, that is how Zero Master dominated Doom.
Each and every day, players across the globe set out to beat the records set by great speedrunners such as Zero Master and Niftski. This community of speedrunners only continues to grow, exploding in popularity in recent years. Speedrun.com, a popular site for speedrunning information, boasts 20 million yearly visitors. Such communities bring different types of people together from all over the world. Despite their inherently competitive nature, many of these groups are very collaborative, sharing strategies, discussing overarching gameplay, and bonding over their shared love of gaming. What's more, many gamers play for causes bigger than themselves, putting their talents towards supporting humanitarian efforts. Some organizations host charity video game marathons in front of live audiences, raising money for a number of groups like Doctors Without Borders and the Prevent Cancer Foundation. The power of gaming, it seems, has the potential to reach far beyond the screen. And like everything in speedrunning, at the heart of its charitable impacts is one core feature: the competition. Driven by speed, efficiency, and optimized gameplay, the race to the finish line continues. Thanks for tuning into Sportly. Tune in next week and every week after as we dive into another great story. And if you have topics or suggestions for something you'd like me to cover, I'd love to hear from you. Please email me at kavitha@immigrantlypod.com. And if typing a long email isn't your thing, record and attach a voice memo to your email. Who knows, I could read it or play it in one of my upcoming episodes. Sportly is an Immigrantly media production. This episode was produced by Sadia Khan and Shay Yu, written by Emmanuel Monahan. Research assistance by Jonathan Hazel and Suhasini Patni. Our sound designer and editor is Paroma Chakravarti. Our theme music was created by Simon Hutchinson. Other music by Epidemic Sound. Tune back in next week and every week after for more Sportly.